Hi guys, welcome to another episode of The Aspiring Entrepreneur. I'm your host Hamza Chowdhury. Welcome to today's recap. It's Wednesday, February 17th, and we're about 3 hours into the trading session. I'm actually done for the day. I figured I'd just come on a little bit early to talk about the stocks that we cover on our Sunday night video. This week it's Apple, Tesla, Palantir, and AMD. And so, the market's still interesting. NASDAQ is down. And so we talked about yesterday how we had a 133 previous support that got broken and acted as resistance, and our next support was 130. And I mentioned one of the good strategies to have if you are, let's just say, taking the day off, or you're just bag holding, or you're not trading, is to just look and study. And one of the things I mentioned, if you even check out the AMD, and we'll look at the AMD pattern in a little bit, is that the 50-day necessarily isn't always a support. It can also act as a resistance. And so we have this continuing sort of negative momentum for Apple, and you can see now that the 50-day is acting as resistance for the stock. And so we traded way below. We broke through the 130, and you can see here that clearly the 133 now is essentially a resistance, and now we essentially have a 130 support. So depending on how we close, so if we close above 130 today, we'll keep that as a support. If we flush below it and we close below 130, it can also now be a future resistance. So we'll talk about that more tomorrow. I personally did not trade Apple today, but it is down about 2.5%, and so we're starting to see a real shift from the tech, and a lot of the tech's down. I felt like Apple was probably the worst. Microsoft was slightly down earlier, but it seemed like that by far Apple and AMD are getting the brunt of it. So just keep your eye out. And again, it could be float, just stock rotation. And again, 145 is being the high. We're trading at 129, 130. It's an awesome discount for you guys again who missed maybe some of these moves. Definitely a great time to buy Apple. And we had a go heavy range at 127.50 for the stock, which is like this level right around here. So wait for about 127, 127.50 if you're going to go ultimately heavy. A lot of consolidation on that level as well. A lot of bounces off that level. So it can come this week. I can definitely see some more continuing downside. And you can also see that on the RSI, we're starting to head to oversold. Okay, so having the sort of negative momentum, getting closer to oversold. And then, of course, the fact that we're trading below the 50-day tells me there's probably more downside. And I'll mention that when we look at the AMD chart. And like I said, a lot of these follow similar patterns. So once you can kind of recognize a pattern, you can kind of understand where you think the stock's going to go. Tesla, way continuing downside. We had established a few weeks ago the 775 level. And we didn't get that on this day here. We were close, and I believe we got down to like it was 780, but we kept the 775 level, and today we actually crossed through it, and we ended up bouncing perfectly off the 50-day. And so the 50-day is $760 for Tesla, and so we had continued downside momentum. We weren't able to keep up, which originally we had thought we would, and instead we got a perfect bounce off the 50-day. And so assuming that Tesla can trade above 760 and close above it, we can maybe potentially see a retrace and get back up into where we thought we were going to go, which was this day, which was a retest up into 835 and getting back up here. Instead, we've just been selling off. And what I mentioned was in yesterday's video, it was just kind of odd that we went sideways, we flushed out, and then we essentially gapped up just to flush out again. So we really, the pre-market and post-market is where you want to minimize your size for that very reason. So we were pretty much flattened down, and then we got more sellers out today to the flush to the 50-day. So expect the bounce, and we haven't bounced off the 50-day in a few months, so it could be healthy for the stock. And so hopefully we can see some type of retracement. And again, you're getting Tesla at a discount. And of course, we'll see, hopefully, we've had this negative momentum now for about a few weeks, and see that start to flatten out, and hopefully we can get a breakout here. Okay. And then you can also see on the RSI, same thing. We're getting to the oversold around 40. So I expect Tesla to definitely bounce, and let's see if we can close over 775 today. Then we'll could definitely keep that as a strong support for the stock. Okay. And then for Palantir, same thing. It's just been an awesome bounce of a stock. It was way oversold. Kathy with ARK Investing, who a lot of people follow, apparently bought like 1.6 million shares yesterday, which, I don't blame her. And so I just wanted to take a moment, and I'm not much of a speculator, but I really thought, sort of thinking about what's going on. So when you see price action, try to understand what you think is going on. And so apparently the lockup period is going to be tomorrow. And that means that the people who were initial investors in Palantir, whether they're venture capitalists, whether they're employees, that lockup period means that they can now sell the shares to the open market. So you're going to have an influx of extra sellers coming in. And so imagine if those sellers came in when the stock was trading at $39 or $40, right? So now all of a sudden you have all the selling pressure at all-time highs, because why would you not want to sell if you got the stock at like, $5, $6, $8 way back when, and now it's trading at 40s, then why not sell? And so what's interesting about tomorrow is I feel like that the algos basically took that into account, right? And so now it's starting to make sense why the stock has already dropped over 30%, because this day is coming, right? So we already had this anticipation drop before the earnings of like 30%, and then we had another 15% or 10% yesterday. And so you have to ask yourself, well, why? Like, where's all the pressure coming? If it was all about the earnings and the earnings were solid and that came out yesterday, why are we selling off? And I think it has to do with taking into account that they don't want to have all these extra sellers come in at all-time highs and creating the stock to essentially go down. So when you see people like Kathy, or you see investment firms buying more shares at a discount, something tells me that they definitely understand what's up. And you can see now that we've definitely created a base. And we mentioned before previous levels of 31, but we mentioned the ultimate go heavy zone, and we mentioned this weeks ago, was 2750, and we got perfect bounce yesterday off of 2750. We got a great bounce a little over 2750 today, guys, and now we're heading over 29, right? So if you follow my videos, if you were able to definitely be a part of that or trade, please do add a comment below. I'd appreciate it, just to get some feedback to see if you were able to take advantage of that. But guys, you got people flushing the stock out. We're getting rid of all the sellers. We're getting all the people who were the profit takers on the short term, who saw this thing go from 20, 25. Looks like it's jumping up right now as we record this video. You just saw another 30 cents. And so this is a really exciting time to be a Palantir shareholder. And I encourage you guys, for those of you guys who are discouraged with yesterday's results, there's nothing to worry about long term. We're bullish on this company. We know that once the lockout period happens and the shares are released, like I said, most people, I think, are going to hold on to their shares, realizing like, why would I sell at 28 or 30 when this thing was at 40 or 45 or potentially even going 50, depending on where you think it's going. And that's really what I fundamentally think, is that a lot of the people, the employees who aren't day traders, who don't know necessarily the market, they're like, why should I sell my shares now when I can wait for this thing to come back up $5, $6, $10? Okay, and that's what I believe. And so you got the VCs there, they may just want to get out, but I really feel like we got quite a move downward. And we also have a gap fill here around 31. And so I'm looking at this carefully for some continuing momentum, but I really can see this thing consolidating back into the mid 30s pretty soon. And so let's just get through the lockup period tomorrow. We'll follow up on that and we'll see how that trades. Good luck to everyone though that's involved with this. Okay, and you can see right now we just traded from 28 all the way to the mid 29s in a matter of a few minutes. So this stock's gonna be a great buy. I'm excited. I'm holding on. I'm not worried about it. I think I mentioned to you guys, if you watched my video yesterday, I was full size going to earnings, which is against my rules, by the way, and I sold a small piece of it before the earnings release because it was gapped up and it was a steal. I was like, there's no reason not to lock in some profits. And then of course we obviously tanked, but we explained, and I explained to you guys, that because I had a plan, that an XYZ plan, right, is if X happens, Y, I'm going to do Y, and if Y happens, I can do Z. Having that plan, I didn't care how much it tanked because I was following my plan, which was the risk was down to 27.50, which is where we got. AMD, probably one of the bigger surprises, getting right back up here into the 95. We had the triple top back here, and I mentioned right now per the Apple video, right? So right after earnings, we traded below the 50. So you can see, just because you traded below the 50 doesn't mean you bounce right back up. It actually acts like resistance, and it starts to fade off of the 50, and that's what we saw in AMD. And so we saw this sort of 3-day thing where it traded, it found its bottom, and it retested. And that's the key, guys. When you're trying to find the bottom, don't be the person. Don't let that be your money. Let that be someone else's money. So this double bottom right here, right at this level, verifies that, okay, this is a validated level. And now you can clearly see, right, that the buyers are pushing this candle up, right? And now we have sort of like a hammer. Okay, and now we started to establish an upside movement, and so we had a pullback. And you know, again, was I expecting this much of a pullback? Not necessarily, but you can start to see again the 50 days acting like resistance, and we're trading below the 50-day. Okay, so I expect that AMD will rebound. It's just, you know, it's a very slow mover. You know, we've had, you know, 3 weeks of just very tight $2 ranges. So it hasn't been that exciting, but I really think we'll start seeing some bigger volume pick up and get the buyers in the stock, because like we mentioned, we want to get back right up here right at $100, and all the analysts had already given the upgrade. Okay, so let the sellers come out. We had a solid support here at 87, and you can clearly see here a good support level here at $90, $91. And so, you know, we broke through a lot of these levels with just weakness in tech in general. So I expect us to get back up, and, you know, once we can find a good base, and again, you know, you can see the hammer starting to form. Okay, so if we close again above, you know, essentially a $90 price target here, which was, you know, previous support, as long as you close over $90.50, well, now you can say, okay, that level's validated, and I can expect continuing upside. Okay, but if it acts like resistance and it closed below 90.50, then you can potentially see that as future resistance, and then we can look at downside risk potentially down to 87. I feel like these moves are just sort of irrational, and I'm not just saying that because I'm holding calls. It's really easy to be biased when you're holding calls. You try to make sense of the price action, but, you know, we've done a ton of consolidating. We've gone up very, you know, about 5%, and then we just essentially retraced that in a couple days, all of this price action. Okay, so that's it, guys. I hope that this video was helpful. If so, please do drop a like and subscribe to our channel. We're a 100% free content channel, and as always, guys, I wish you the best of luck trading, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.